Hi there. To answer this question about the age limitation to admit a child to a children's home, we will have to shift gears between two documents, that is JJ Act and JJ Rules. So if you have those two documents with you, please keep them open, but otherwise be aware that I will be shifting gears between these two documents so that you can follow along. If you're wondering what in the world is JJ Act and what are the JJ Rules, there is another video that I made some time back. You can find that video in the description box below to learn about it. Now, the question is asking specifically about the age limitation to a particular kind of a childcare institute called Children's Home. So if I may give you a little understanding about childcare institutes under JJ Act, there are totally 7 different kinds of homes that are collectively called as childcare institutes. So, Children's Home is one among those 7 different kinds of homes that are called as childcare institutes. So the question is specifically asking about age limitation to admit a child to this particular home among those 7 homes called Children's Home. Since we are talking primarily about Children's Home, we just have to go to the JJ Act and look under the Children's Home to see if it says anything about the age limitation of admission of a child to this particular home. That section is 50 in JJ Act. It has 3 subsections. If you read through those 3 subsections of section 50 of JJ Act, there is no mention of age limitation to admit a child to this particular home. But if you look at the JJ Act as a whole, there are a number of references which demarcate the age limitation to admit a child to a children's home as below the age of 6 years and above the age of 6 years. But a very definitive statement is made in subsection 3 of section 36 of JJ Act to say that any child who is in need of care and protection, who is below the age of 6 years, ought to be sent to specialized adoption agency, and the child who is in need of care and protection that is above the age of 6 years ought to be sent to children's home, fit facility, fit person, or a foster family depending on the needs of the child until he attains the age of 18 years. You feel like case is settled. Below the age of 6 years, they have to send to an adoption agency. Above the age of 6 years, they can be sent to children's home, fit facility, fit person, or foster family. But there is a small caveat. Let's go back to the section 50 that talks about the children's home. Subsection 3. It says about state government forming the rules to monitor the children's homes, standard of care, and the nature of services. The children's homes ought to offer 6 different kinds of services, that is care, treatment, education, training, development, and rehabilitation. These are the different kinds of natures of services that are to be offered in a children's home. Right? But as we discussed earlier, the services, the nature of services that ought to be provided for the children below the 6 years of age ought to be provided at adoption agency, but who are above the age of 6 years ought to be provided in other places. Now, if you go to the JJ Rules, sub-rule 1 of Rule 29, under the children's homes, it says children's homes can take care of children below the age of 6 years, including infants, if you have the infrastructure. So which means children's homes can take care of children below the age of 6 years, provided that is being granted to your children's home by the department that is monitoring the JJ Act activities in your state. Mind you, in your JJ Act registration, when you submit application for your JJ Act registration, you might have to state this, that you have the infrastructure and you have the staffing required to care for children below the age of 6 years, and if that is including infants, you might have to get a special permission or at least a statement made in your registration document to state that such kind of children can be cared for. And this document ought to be given by the department that is taking care of the JJ Act activities in your state. Why I say this is, this particular department in your state is working with the Ministry of Women and Child Development and the central government under a memorandum of understanding. So only this particular department can issue the registration to state what kind of children can be cared in your children's home. So in a nutshell, children's homes can take care of children that are below the age of 6 years, including infants, provided you have the infrastructure and the staffing to take care of it, and the required registration is being granted by the particular department that is looking after the JJ Act activities in your state.